While studying modern Indian history, we come across a lot of personalities. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Debendranath Tagore, Keshav Chandra Sen, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Swami Vivekanand, Firoz Shah Mehta, Badruddin Tayyib ji, Surendranath Banerjee, Lala Lajpat Rai, Gangadhar Tilak, Aurobindo Ghosh, Mahatma Gandhi, M.N. Roy, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Bhagat Singh, etc. We study their ideas, their thoughts, because we want to understand their worldview and how their thoughts and ideas contributed towards shaping of the idea of India as a nation. Everybody contributed. So before we could understand their worldview, let us understand the political ideologies which forms the basis of the modern political thought. The political ideological prism conventionally is divided into three major divisions. So we have the state, society, and individual. Now, the political thought that supports individual over society and state is known as liberalism. The word liberalism is derived from the term liber, because these were those who were neither aristocrats nor they were slaves in the Greek city-states. So that political thought which supports an individual over the state and the society is understood as liberalism. The political thought that supports a society over individual and state is socialism. So whenever we are talking about socialist thought, it will always emphasize upon society rather than emphasizing upon individual and state. And the political thought that focuses upon state as against society and individual is nationalism. So we come across three important divisions or three important ideologies: socialism, liberalism, and nationalism. Now, liberalism as a political ideology, it emphasizes more upon individual rights. So, rights, whether it is political and civil, then constitutionalism, property, qualifications, and representative forms of democracy. So liberalism, it also has its own extreme. So the classical liberalism emphasizes more upon minimal state. It wants a minimal state, but it wants to make sure that every individual can enjoy their rights, that is generally understood as liberty, and they pitch for political and civil rights, and everything is justified on the basis of reason. So it's a rational school of thought. Compared to that, if you talk about the state and its nationalism, it is emphasizing, or it is rather based upon conservation, tradition. It calls for sacrifice of individual and society for the state. Nationalism is generally based upon obedience, and it derives its ideology on the basis of romanticism and emotions. So as against liberalism, nationalism is deriving from romanticism and emotions. It is more historical in its narrative. Socialism as a thought, it is emphasizing more upon equality. So socialism will say that man is a social being. Society comes first. So it will always emphasize upon equality. It will pitch for universal suffrage. Now, even socialism, it is derived from reason, and on the reasonal basis, it is criticism of the liberal ideology. So socialists, they generally emphasize upon equality, universal adult suffrage, and whenever every ideology views the world from their perspective, they will have a different idea of justice. So for the socialists, they would state that the state must tax the rich and must bring about equality. The liberals, they would justify that a person who has property, he has property because of his own merit, and the state should not interfere, or the society should not interfere whenever an individual is enjoying his property. And the state in itself would state that individual and society exist because of the state, because of the nationhood. So society and individual must sacrifice their own interest for the state. And liberalism, socialism, and nationalism, they are generally at these ends of the political ideology. Extreme form of socialism is communism. Communism will say we do not want a state, we want a stateless and a classless society. We do not want private property or the state. That is called as extreme form of socialism. Extreme form of liberalism will only emphasize upon night watchman state, a minimal state, and the society not interfering upon the rights of an individual. An extreme form of a nationalism is called fascism. So we have extreme forms in all these three ideologies. When we talk about the modern Indian history, we have the 19th century, you can say, personalities generally emphasizing more upon liberalism. For example, we have Raja Ram Mohan Roy, now he was emphasizing upon political and civil rights. So his idea was for social political reforms, but his ideas were based upon liberalism. So all other nationalists, whether it is Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Surendranath Banerjee, Vyomesh Chandra Banerjee, whether it is Gopal Krishna Gokhale, now these are all liberals. They would be supporting a liberal ideology. Now, the difference between moderates and extremists was, the moderates, although they were nationalists, but they were liberal nationalists, the extremists, they derived their nationalism more upon romanticism and emotions. For example, the ideas of Aurobindo, that is, he devised the cult of Bharat Mata, or the cult of Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, or the ideas of Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So the very initial cult of Swaraj, that was nationalist in its narrative, that was more of romanticist and emotional, appealing to the masses. And in 1920s, the ideas that came, they were socialists. For example, we have ideas of M.N. Roy, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Bhagat Singh. Now all these ideas were socialist because they were emphasizing more upon equality. Every school of thought could have had extremist expression of their ideas. For example, M.N. Roy, he would at one point of time support a complete communist ideology. So he went to the extreme form of socialism. Whereas Jawaharlal Nehru, he would emphasize upon universal adult suffrage, so he's socialist. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was a socialist. Now Motilal Nehru was a liberal. His idea was what? Dominion status. So Jawaharlal Nehru and Motilal Nehru, their ideological differences were that of a liberal and a socialist. An extreme form of nationalism will go into fascism also. For example, the ideas of Hindu Mahasabha, RSS, that was extreme form of nationalism, glorifying the cult of Bharat Mata, that was fascism.